How you guys doing? We are living in some crazy times right now. We know that everything that is happening right now is a plan designed in hell. Number one, the scripture says that God is not the author of confusion. And right now we see a whole bunch of confusion going on. We see a whole bunch of rioting, looting, and chaos. We see a whole bunch of division and separation. We see a whole lot of stuff. There's killing, police being shot, beat up, innocent people being ran over. But there's a thing I wanted to address. Number one, 1 John 4, 7 and 8 says, Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loves is born of God, and knoweth God. For he that loves not knoweth not God, for God is love. And so I can't speak to everybody today as though they're born again, number one. Number two, whether you are saved or not born again, the thing is, as decent human beings, we have enough common sense and know within ourselves that right is right and wrong is wrong when it comes to the mess we are seeing happening today out here. We just morally have that within us to know that's right, that's wrong. But because of sin and people who are bound by the powers of darkness, sin begets sin, and people not only enjoy sinful things, but they have pleasure, as the scripture says in Romans chapter 1, they have pleasure in those that also do those evil things. Okay? So I want to talk to you today about the riots that's going on, not the protests. Is it okay to protest? Yes. Peaceful protests? Yes. It's okay to have your voice heard. Is it okay you want a bullhorn to let your voice be heard? Yes. There's nothing wrong with protesting. It's nothing. We're in a free country in America, as so far still. Last time I checked. But we have a lot of violence and protests going on. And now, number one, we know that they're saying that, of course, we see based upon what has happened. This is not new because we saw in St. Louis when the young man up there under Obama's term, he was murdered by a police officer. We saw protests in St. Louis, and we saw protests break out in other areas. It wasn't as bad as what we see today. I mean, goodness, though, but look back during Rodney King back in the 90s when he was beaten and how they set L.A. on fire. And look at L.A. now. It's the same thing all over again. But not only here, but I think between 20 and 30-something cities. It keeps increasing. They've put curfews in certain cities, major cities by night. And I have to say here where I stay in this town in the city of Kansas, the city in the state of Kansas, sorry, there has not been... there's been a protest. Over 2,000 people showed up, but there has not been any out of control behavior or anything. But there are some things I want to point out today, and I want to show you that what is happening is that you have people who are coming out peacefully and who are being misrepresented because they're coming out in peace and they're coming out to protest. But their voice is being, their protest and their voice is being hijacked. Their character is being hijacked by those who are trying to muddy the waters and stir the pot of anger, okay? So you have people that's already angry and mad, but then you have these agitators. A lot of them were paid protesters and paid agitators during the time when Donald Trump was even elected. And you saw all of these protests and all these things taking place all over the city. A group called MoveOn.org, who's paid for by George Soros. He's actually been funding a lot of these riots and chaos, and come to find out now that a group called Antifa is behind a lot of these, and even some they're saying, I can't confirm this, but I wouldn't doubt it, that there's even drug cartels and other paid agitators who are in on the scenes trying to make things look bad. Now, I don't know, when you speak truth to power, and when you show evidence, and when you show different things, this is one or two of the many multiple clips. I cannot even compress. I would have to do a multiple series of what's going on. But remember that movie Romeo Must Die? I'm going to show you something here in just a minute. Remember that movie Romeo Must Die, and with Jet Li and Aaliyah, and you had two gangs between the blacks and the Chinese, the Asians. They were feuding with one another, but there was people in the background on the black side who was working on those gangs and that crime organization or syndicate, and then there was on the Asian side, there was some people in the background who was supposed to be working for their overlord in the Asian crime syndicate. They were both back channels, or was working against their bosses, working with each other to stir the pot of a racial feud. And so what you saw was two sides working against each other, stirring the pot, because number one, those people in the background, they wanted to be the person on top. They had their own self-interest, okay? And they were all doing this so they can muddy the waters and get a race war kicked off, which in the white papers, they said that was admitted even a few years back to get a race war started. That's one of the things they've been trying to do even today. Look at the statues. And remember when Donald Trump said there was bad people on both sides. And one thing that frustrates me about the president is when he has knowledge and information about some things, he don't just get right to the point and say what it is. He should have just said there's Antifa, there was bad elements of Black Lives Matter that came in, they stirred up the waters, and they were just trying to provoke a whole situation. On the other side, during that time, during those protests over the statues, yes, you even had some people who were racist in the KKK, but not everybody was bad, okay? But you have you have the bad seeds come in on both sides, and then you have this big confusion going on, and now look at all of that. Before I go forward to where we are today, there was DNC buses with Black Lives Matters, which it was crazy because a lot of these were white folks wearing Black Lives Matter shirts, and some Antifa, which were all white. But now it's not a black or white thing again, but what was going on is that a lot of these people were also college professors. They were trendy, communist-minded white folks who were trying to stir up the pot because they were paid. There was ads, and I even saw an ad. I wish I could pull that up. I'll try to if I do on the next video here talking about this subject, where they were hiring for people to protest. Okay? And so you look at that, how they've been they've been trying to stir up things. I'm going to show you this video here. And I'm going to show it to you the best that I can. But these, and we're going to look at it first, and then I'm going to come back to it here in just a minute. Where I'm going to rewind it here, and I'm going to turn up the volume. And I want you to hear what this lady has to say. This is a black lady. Now watch this.
Stuff like this ain't right. is we out here standing together peacefully, protesting without any problems. You got people of all races spraying on buildings talking about Black Lives Matter. That ain't even us. You got police officers coming to a peaceful protest spraying gas on us. We ain't even did nothing. Don't let the media fool you. When they see the vandalism on these places, know that it wasn't us. And when you see stuff like that, you're supposed to stand up and say something. Don't spray on these people's buildings. That's not our message. That's not helping nothing. And then putting it on us, and then want to argue with us and say if somebody black asked you to spray. We don't need nobody to do nothing for us.
Now, boom. Paid agitators, these little skinny, lanky little white girls coming in, paid for probably no other than George Soros, who funds Antifa, and there's other groups too, which the president just declared Antifa a terrorist organization. That means if they're declared a terrorist organization, seriously strong actions could be taken against them. Is the president taking a strong enough stand in every aspect? He could do better, and he could be more vocal about some things. But I wanted to show you that, I know he made a tweet. He says when the looting starts, the shooting starts. And he was then he put in he declared Antifa a terrorist organization, which was a day late and a dollar short, but I guess better late than never. So, he's dropped the ball on some areas on this, but he could have been more vocal and specific on some things to bring some clarity. Because a lot of you watching, you don't see stuff like this on CNN. And you'll never see stuff like this on CNN. You'll never see stuff like this on Fox. You'll never see stuff like this on any of these mainstream networks. And by the way, CNN was burnt down while they was advocating, and some of the people in the press with Kayleigh McEnany, they were advocating for Antifa, these mainstream networks, when she actually broke some information which actually shed light on what was going on here to say. But CNN's building got burnt down on a certain area, the front or the side. One of CNN's reporters got arrested being in the mix of the crowd. One of Fox reporters got arrested. I don't know if they showed that on the mainstream, but I mean, all these things are happening. And while they're advocating for this as a whole, as a corporation, it's like their whole plan is backfiring on them. They won't show you the black folks that was protesting down in Dallas, and I have that clip. I wish I could show you. It was on a media network. RT was speaking a lot of truth on some of these things. One of the in Atlanta, I'll come back to Dallas, but in Atlanta, when they were saying a lot of the arrests that was made in Atlanta, majority of the people wasn't even from Atlanta or the surrounding areas. They come from out of state and other areas. The ones who were involved in violence and destroying and looting. So you do have some people, when some people get the they provoke, the paid agitators provoke a situation that will incite some people, some of the black folks that was there, to do wrong. Not all of them was doing wrong, and so don't try to see it as, all these black folks are acting crazy and doing bad. Listen, there's even some black folks out there too that are a part of this, the paid agitator group, or some who was just provoked because of what they saw. Well, they said, heck, I'm going to get in on it too. But the paid agitators, the Antifas and all these other groups and the sour elements of these groups are coming in and stirring up all of this stuff. Here's another one right here. I'm going to show it to you. This was a gentleman right here. a white gentleman who was actually, somebody said, he said, you are a cop, you are an officer. And this was in Minneapolis. Let me.
That's why I'm doing this, you guys.
Now look, they're looking at this white guy dressed up, busting out windows. Black guy walking up on him like, hey, what are you doing? White dude dressed up. Notice, all of them dress up in black. All of them dress up and cover their faces. They were like, what are you doing?
I zoomed in. I'll zoom out a little bit. Those cops will come for you if you're pulling that crap.
Look, now he's trying to walk away and they're following him. Look. Dude is walking them down. He said, are you a effing cop? He said, it doesn't matter. What does it matter? He's going around busting up the windows. White guy dressed up, possibly a cop, a paid off cop, or a person who's with Antifa. Okay? But the thing is, too, is that, see, you have, it doesn't matter whether your skin is black or white. There's paid agitators. Doesn't matter what your skin is. There's paid agitators. A lot of Antifa is communists, trendy, left-wing communists, white folks. A lot of them who are into academics. They don't believe in God. They're atheists. And these are the same ones who would stir up black folks and say to another white person, check your white card or your white privilege, or they'll say, kill all white people. Like you've seen a lot of these people who think like this, the Antifa mentality type people with the communist mind. They will see, you see white people saying, kill all white people. I've seen it, the lady, oh goodness. One of the heads in one of these, I don't know if it's the National Institute of Health or the, I'll have to look that up. But she said, paraphrasing, that we should kill all white people because they're the only ones who are going to be resisting. And she's white. Okay? These are the same ones that incite black folks' anger and provoke them to violence. Yeah, the ones who, and so you have a lot of good and bad on in here that's stirring the pot, and even though you have bad elements that are going in trying to get things started, that doesn't mean to those out there who are protesting peacefully to join in and tag along with them. Because yes, there was black folks out there tearing up, looting, stealing, and going crazy, just like these groups that I'm talking about right here. They were just as guilty, okay? Whether they were paid off, provoked, or what. It's wrong. And it's sinful, and sin is sin, and it is what it is. And so when you are protesting, it's one thing. But when you, the brother of George Floyd, I listened to him. They showed him on RT News, which they wouldn't give that voice to any other platform. And I'm not speaking of RT because they have their flaws too. But it was shown on there. He was saying, when you guys are doing this, it says you are hurting. He said you are hurting what we're trying to do. And you're not doing any justice for my brother. So his brother, the brother of George Floyd, said, when you are doing these things, you are hurting the cause. When the Target in Minneapolis, they go in and they loot it and burn it up. And the old white lady, I think she was barely coming out of that store or one of the others. And so this old white grandmother was in a chair. Now, and what did she do? Nothing at all. And some of the young black youth came up and was like they was trying to bear hug her or choke her, and she was in her motor chair and she was just calm, and she couldn't move and do much. And then she pulled out something. I couldn't see what it was, but one of the boys said, "Oh, she got a knife." And then somebody sprayed the a fire extinguisher in her face. Why are we attacking innocent people, dummies? Why are we attacking innocent people? It doesn't matter if your skin is white, black, brown, or yellow. If you are being paid to agitate, you are wrong. There's a lot of people out there who it doesn't matter if you're red, yellow, black, or white, who came out there peacefully too. But so all I'm saying is that when you are out there participating in violence, participating in all these different things that don't bring any justice and defeats the purpose and weakens the voice of why people are out there, why you're out there protesting, okay, then you can't be heard. When you're pulling weapons on police, dragging police, fighting them, teaming up on them, then you are provoking them to get physically aggressive. What are you thinking? Okay? So we have to be wise and understand what is going on here. There's a lot of deep elements to this. There's a lot of deep elements to this. But I just want you guys to see the paid agitators. I showed you the video. There's so much more than that. Oh yeah, Dallas. There was bricks set out in the middle of nowhere in the area where the protest was going to happen. And these two young black youth said, "What is that? There's no construction going on around here. This is a setup. They just set all these bricks around here. Bricks just set up, just ready to be thrown. Ready, just somebody can do something." Who set these bricks here? In the area where there's no construction, just laid and set up. You see? All by design and crafted straight from the pits of hell. And if people fall for that bait, which many have already, you look at the country now, it's by design for a purpose and a reason. Okay? There's a lot of reasons why they are pushing their agenda to do these things. Rahm Emanuel said this, who was the former chief of staff under Barack Obama. He said during the BP oil crisis, he said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." Never let a good crisis go to waste. So just be prayerful to my believers in Christ. Those of you, who eyes are open to this, speak up about it. Videos like these right here are getting censored. A lot of them are getting removed. What you see right there, they will not show on mainstream media because the people above the media are ordering them. They're paid for, they're bought off to push an agenda for whatever reasons. That's far and few and in between. Okay? But keep your eyes open. Until the next time, take care.